Hello my fellow model kit enjoyers, and today we are running through a few terms used in the Gunpla scene, and today is early real grade syndrome and polycap joints. Because Bandai is too lazy to rework old kits to fit the modern counterpart, they still produce old kits with outdated builds, even after it was released like 10 to 20 years ago. Brand new in box, regardless of grade. This pretty much happens to every single kit across the years that gets a rerun, exceedingly worse for the real grades due to the complex inner workings of early real grades at the same tiny 1/144 scale. Kits that are older than the RG Unicorn are notoriously known as hand grenades due to their thin and fragile inner frame technology that was used in the early RG days. The joints are pre-printed in the factory, extremely fragile, loosen over time with little to no repairability, and the extremely tiny chassis is held to the inner frame by hopes and dreams. Minifigure for scale to show how tiny it really is. And this bodes especially badly for a transforming Gundam like this box of Gunpla PTSD when it explodes spontaneously in your hands. Some examples of this specific RG in the frame related to early RG syndrome being used are the RG Wing Zero Endless Waltz kit that I've shown here, the RG Strike Freedom, and of course the RG Zeta Gundam. As I mentioned before, the label color will not tell you how old the build is. And I've personally had the joy of experiencing an early real grade with my Wing Zero over here, except it ironically wasn't the inner frame that failed on me, it was actually the Buster Cannon handle pegs that snapped clean off. And I used up every single one of the spares. Definitely the kit I regret buying the most out of all my model kits and figures, and I ended up getting the MG Endless Waltz Vordt Wing Zero, and I never looked back. You just have to do your research so that you're not met with absolute disappointment because you didn't get what you expected. This applies to all the other grades as well, and whatever you buy online. And now for the second bit where I talk about polycap joints, which is a rubbery material that eventually will crack with time, which is made obvious by the fact that Bandai provides a mountain of spares. And sometimes Bandai uses kits with polycaps as a baseline to build a new kit, which means the polycaps stay in a really new set, which means a new kit like the transforming purple ashtray actually has polycap joints despite the fact it came out in 2025. But why are these problematic? Because your cements and glues will not work on these things and it's near impossible to repair. I kinda got into the hobby a little later than most, around 2024, and I somehow lucked out with most of my kits using plastic on plastic instead of polycaps. And the only time I've really seen polycap joints was with my Barbatos and this Figure Standard War Greymon from 2020 with cracked polycap hips. I suspect the ball joint needed sanding, but weirdly enough, I didn't actually build this, my brother did. But seeing my lack of polycap experience, I would have made the same mistake. Unfortunately, that also means I don't have spares from any of my other kits, of which it seems like War Greymon actually didn't come with any for this particular piece, so I'm basically fucked. Thanks Bandai. Someone did share a repair video with thread and super glue at some stage, otherwise I just have to buy some new polycaps to replace the broken hips. Regardless, you'll see it happen here anyway at some point. Let me know if you dealt with either of these issues with your kits and share how you solved them. Like, subscribe, see you next time.